Coming up today in episode 206 of Husavik Heroes, we play 2 of our last 3 games in the group stage of the Champions League as we take on teams with quite a few former Völsungur players. First up, we take on Lille, then we take on Inter Milan. Can we secure top spot in the group? We'll find out off the back of the intro. Hello everyone and welcome back to Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well. If you are looking forward to a double header in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we are taking on 2 teams who we have already beaten quite comfortably in the opening stages of the group in today's episode. If you missed out one of those games yesterday, which was against Lille, I'll leave a link to that one in the top right corner. You should be pretty familiar with that team if you did catch the episodes. We're not going to do too much leading into the first game of today's episode, seeing as we did just take them on yesterday. But as you can see by the table, they're in quite a strong position. If we can win this first game, we'll guarantee ourselves a passage through to the first knockout round. And if we can win the second game of today's episode against Inter Milan at home as well, I think that will be enough for us to secure top spot in the group with 1 game to play in tomorrow's episode against Ajax, where we are also going to do our end of season review as well as the draw for that first knockout round. So in terms of us going into this first game of today's episode, just a few little updates. Of course, Icelandic was on holiday for that first game against Lille yesterday. He is back for this one, so that does mean Bruno Costa does drop back to the bench, but as you can see, Lille Herrera is staying at left back. Premzel Bokic has made his way onto the bench, and that is because Jonathan Berger is out for 11 days to 3 weeks, so he might be back for the second game of today's episode against Inter Milan, but he has suffered a groin strain in training since that game in yesterday's episode, so he's going to be missing at the very least for this first one. Hopefully we can give him some minutes coming up against Inter Milan in that second game of today's episode, but a very able backup there in Lille Herrera, and it is still a pretty strong looking Völsungur team, so hopefully we can defeat Peter Löbec's Lille and guarantee ourselves some knockout football for the start of next week. And we'll come back shortly and get straight into the action from the Stade Pierre Mauroy as we take on Lille in the Champions League group stage. And coming up to the 2-minute mark of this one, we start things off here with a free kick. Lille looking identical to how they did in yesterday's episode, playing a 4-4-2. We were on the front foot there off the back of that free kick, but we eventually lose possession. Lille pump it deep, and now it's a little bit of a tussle in midfield for possession, but a nice ball played over there for Adam Saki. Might be offside, but play does continue. Must have been onside, but that shot pretty much was straight into the path of our former goalkeeper and Peter Löbec, but Doumbia puts this one into the mixer. Basicki gets his header on the end of that. Over the last few episodes, we have been very, very good from near post corners, but that time Löbec makes the save and Lille do deal with the danger from the subsequent corner. And I think that might do this highlight indeed, as Saki can't link up with Doumbia. Still 0-0 after 4 minutes. And we go for just shy of the 15-minute mark for our next highlight in this one. It is a throw to Lille, albeit somewhat of a misguided header there. And we get possession back and get a chance here to play out from the back. And Carl Vollen eventually finds Lille Herrera, who comes into the team for this one. We try and get something going here. Down our left-hand side, links up with Bayer. It's a slide tackle, but thankfully, Lapasset is there to tidy things up. It's a little bit fortunate there. Forced to Saki, slots through. Lapasset, lovely finish into the top right corner. A little bit of a fortunate goal there. It did threaten to break down a few times there down that left-hand side, but thankfully we managed to keep hold of possession here and concluded when what did look like Lapasset might just miss out on the ball, but Saki finds it, slots through Lapasset. Good finish there into the top right corner to give us a 1-0 lead just shy of the 15-minute mark. And a couple of minutes off the back of that opening goal, we are back down Lille's end here with a throw, and Lapasset loops that one into the mixer. We sort of keep possession and keep them on the back foot here, but eventually Lille do control possession, and there is a bit of a loose touch there, and eventually Lassana Doumbia gets us back on the front foot. Lapasset tries to slot through. Agatire will rocket that into the bottom left corner. We do have to wait here, though, for a VAR check. I definitely think that Saki was offside, but Agatigere not quite so sure, so this could be an interesting one, and unfortunately that goal has been disallowed, so we are denied a quick fire double. We'll just see how close indeed this one was, and in fact both of those players quite clearly onside, so it remains 1-0 Völsungur. And just inside the last 5 minutes here of the first half, a bit of a tussle there between one of the Lille players and Elaine Basicki. Thankfully Basicki does keep position, but so far a very dominant first half, like most of our games have been so far in the group stage this season. We get an overlap here with Radenko Krollo, plays that back for Dumbia. Adam Saki will rocket that through the hands of Peter Huelurvik. Probably should have saved that one if he was playing for us. I'll be a bit disappointed with that effort from the Norwegian goalkeeper, but that makes it 2-0. And based on the stats that you will see shortly at halftime, I think that's a pretty deserved lead that we will take into the shed. Saki with too much power on this one for Huelurvik. Looks like he might be trying to tip that one over the bar, but doesn't quite get enough elevation on it. And I think that should give us a good 2-0 lead going into halftime, outdoing our XG, but Lille not offering much in return at all so far. Only 2 shots in this game, none on target. So very happy with how this one is going, especially off the back of that late goal in the first half to make it 2-0. We'll make no changes yet, and we'll get things back underway with a nice 2-0 lead and on the verge of making the knockouts of the Champions League yet again. And 10 minutes into the second half, we have our first highlight here of thrown inside the final third, and Agatigere puts this far post, and Lapase is completely unmarked and onside, so he will also get himself a goal so far. All of our front three have a goal here in this one, and that should surely wrap up this game and hopefully our passage through to the first knockout round of the Champions League yet again as well. Lapase just given way too much space there, somehow unmarked. A simple open header, and that makes it 3-0 Völsungur. And we're just about to enter the last 15 minutes of this game, so I think it is time for us to give some of our younger talents some minutes on the field here so they can get some match ratings before we do change things too much. So I think here we might make a triple substitution and take off the players who aren't on the best rating. So we start off this one with Luis Herrera, only on a 6.6. We did change the bench up prior to this game. Christopher Allegard can cover right back. So what I think we're going to do here is bring him on for Luis Herrera, switch out Radenko Krollo to left back. As you can see, not the worst looking wing back is Christopher Allegard. Obviously can also play left wing. So we're going to do somewhat what Ian Foster does with Will Jordan in the All Blacks. Not salty about that at all after team naming today. Also Benvenu Bayer on an average rating. Marcelo Jr. can come on for him, and Gabriel Capan for Filippo Dinelli. So we'll take off all those players not quite on a green rating. That's all our subs use. Still 3-0 with just over 15 minutes left. And we go for a few minutes off the back of those 3 substitutions. We put a ball there into the mixer. Lille dealt with it, but we get possession back not too long off the back of that. And Allegard will try and curve that one in the top left corner, and somehow that comes off the post and doesn't find its way into the back of the net. We'll see if anything else does come from this highlight. Allegard finds some space down the right-hand side, but that is it. And still somehow only 3-0 with 10 minutes left. And going forward now to the 83-minute mark, yet again we start off with a throw-in, albeit this time inside our own half, albeit it doesn't take us too long to get back inside the Lille half, and a good chance here for Marcelo Jr., albeit Huelurvik does just get out of his box in time there and deal with that danger. Thought something interesting might be about to happen there as we brought on Marcelo Jr. off of the bench. We try and play a long ball forward there, a few headers from Lille, and they give the ball to Radenko Krollo, who has, of course, switched out to the left-hand side off the back of that substitution, in which we did bring on Allegard. We just knocked the ball about here in the midfield. Lapase now gets in behind. Can he put a ball here into the mixer? Junior plays that one back for Radenko Krollo. Junior just holds things up back for Basicki with a long-range shot. It comes off the post. We are still here on the attack, but can't do anything. That was nearly an absolute screamer of a goal there from Elaine Basicki. We'll see if anything else does come from this highlight, but that ball for Junior has a little bit too much on it. Still 3-0 with only 5 minutes left, and I think that might be about it for this game, albeit one more highlight here inside the last 5 minutes. Marcelo Jr. just holds things up, plays that over for Lapase as we try and get something going here down our left-hand side, and we do knock the ball about. Lapase puts that far post, and Agatigere this time with a open header. It's a very similar goal to the one which we did score at the start of this half, albeit Agatigere got not quite as open as Lapase was, I think it is fair to say, but that just puts a cherry on top of this performance, yet another dominant one here in the group stages of the Champions League, and it looks like we are going to be wiping out Lille with a 4-0 win here away from home, and that will secure us, of course, a spot in the first knockout round. Still, with 2 games to play in the end, completely dominant performance, as you can tell there from the stats. So very, very happy with how that one went. 2 goals to Lapase as well as an assist, and also Saki and Agatigere getting on the score sheet, and Dumbia also picked himself up an assist. So a very, very good all-round performance there, and that makes sure we are going to be in the knockouts of the Champions League yet again, albeit we were the early kickoff, so we'll come back before the second game of today's episode, update you guys on what the points table does look like before we take on Inter Milan and try and make sure that we can go through in top spot with 1 game to spare. And a couple of weeks before we do get to that next game in the Champions League group stage against Inter Milan, just a quick update here with the Goal 50 list, the best 50 players in the world. And as you can see, there are 2 Völsungur players on the list this season, and both of them are inside the top 10. Carl Vollen there is ranked 5th in behind a few Man United players, Manning from Chelsea and Yusufa Makoko, who is ranked the best player in the world, and also a bit further down there in 9th position is Lassana Doumbia. But a quick update there, 2 Völsungur players inside the top 10 on the Goal 50 best 50 players in the world list. And we have now gone forward to the Inter Milan game. We've actually already had the end of season review pop up. We'll deal with that come the start of tomorrow's episode, but first things first, we are going to cover the results from that 4th match week from the other Icelandic teams in both the Europa League and the Conference League. HK probably needed a win against Granada to keep their hopes of finishing 2nd in their group alive and making their way through to the knockouts of the Europa League. Unfortunately though, they could only manage a 1-1 draw coming from behind, and that does mean they are still 3 points above Malmo, because Malmo surprisingly pick up a 2-2 draw away there against RB Leipzig. So a little bit of a disappointing match week there for HK. Was hoping that at the very least pull a bit further ahead of Malmo on that one, but still in quite a strong position to at the very least finish 3rd in that group, albeit going to need a bit of a minor miracle these days with that head-to-head record in favour of Granada to be making their way into the knockouts of the Europa League. And our other team in the Europa League, Keflavik, unfortunately couldn't back up what they did at home yesterday when they did hold Liverpool to a draw. This time they travel to Anfield and get pretty comprehensively beaten there 3-0. And it does look like now they are officially out of the reckoning unless they can pull off a minor miracle and beat Südtirol in their next game, Italian opposition in Italy, who so far are doing quite a good job in this group as well. And then they'll also need to do a good job against Panathinaikos on that final match week. It's not looking too likely there that Keflavik are going to play any more games off the back of the end of the Europa League group stage. And now we make our way down to the Conference League to check in on Phil here. They back up a good win yesterday against Asker, the Norwegian team, with a 2-2 draw away from home. They grab a goal there in the 65th minute to make sure that they do pick up a point from that game. So at the moment, it does look like they are in the best position to be finishing 2nd in behind Bayer Leverkusen in that group, especially if they can win their next game coming up here at home against the Greek outfit in Atromitos, and that will hopefully mean there's not too much riding on that last match week where they do have to travel to Germany to take on Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously in the Conference League, you do need a top 2 finish to be making the knockouts of European competition, unlike the higher 2 competitions. But at the moment, Phil here look like they are in a decent position to hopefully be finishing 2nd in that group. But their next game coming up against Atromitos is very, very important. But a quick update on what our group looks like here going into the second to last game of the group stage, which we are going to play in the light snow at my arena. We take on an Inter Milan team who we bet 2-0 away from home on that first match week, an Inter Milan team which does include players like Kenny Boreal, Ognjan Mizkic, and of course Kalen Rakasan, and they are coming off the back of a 1-0 win away against Ajax. So what that does mean is that Inter Milan are our closest rivals in this group with 2 games left. So obviously, if we win this game, we are definitely qualifying top in the group. Even a draw from this game is going to be enough. So we're in a really strong position to be getting out of this group in top spot, which will hopefully mean that we get an easier opponent come the first knockout round draw, which we will have at the end of tomorrow's episode. In terms of our team for this one, we have Jonathan Berger coming back, but he's not quite fit enough to handle 90 minutes. He's going to be starting from the bench, and that means that Luis Herrera does keep his place in the starting 11. Also, we've got 2 players who have got injections. They're going to play through some very, very minor injuries, and hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us here. It's 2 players right at the top of the list, Carl Vollen and Radinko Krolo. Carl Vollen, he is 1 day from recovering from some bruised ribs, so hopefully that doesn't get any worse off the back of this one. And also Radinko Krolo, also just 1 day away with a bruised ankle. So hopefully with those injections, those players can get through this game, a game where we could seal our place as top qualifier. And even then, hopefully they should still be fit for that last game of the group stage against Ajax. Otherwise, that could be a little bit of a mistake. We're going to roll them out anyway, and we can always take off someone like Radinko Krolo late in the game if we do have it pretty well under control. But apart from that, 1 change on the bench. It is exactly the same team as we put out for the first game. In fact, I tell a lie, Richard Waswa also makes his way onto the bench in place of Gabriel Capan. But apart from that, the same starting 11 anyway as we did have for that previous game against Lille. As I mentioned, we just need a point in this one to be locking up top spot in the group for that first knockout round draw in tomorrow's episode. And we'll come back shortly from my arena and hopefully get the job done against an Inter Milan team full of former Völsungur players. And it's been a little bit longer since we've played Inter Milan then Lille, so we will show you guys the team sheets for this one. There's our team as we ran through before, the same starting 11 as we had for that first game of today's episode. Inter Milan, different formation from what they put out in the first game, but it does look like pretty similar personnel and all 3 of those former Völsungur players. And as I said, just need a point from this one to lock up top spot in the group. And 10 minutes into this one, we have our first highlight is Inter Milan here in the dark uniform who have thrown inside the final third. We do have a highlight pretty early on, but a completely meaningless one. Mizkic puts that one in the top right corner, but I think he was pretty clearly offside, but we'll just make sure indeed that was the case and make sure my eyes are not playing tricks on me there with our former man. And thankfully, indeed, he was offside and that goal will not stand. So that was nearly a terrible start for us there at home, but Mizkic is well and truly offside. So still 0-0 after 10 minutes. And we go forward now to the 26-minute mark for our next highlight. It is a free kick for us here just inside the opposition half, which Radinko Krolo did take before he starts to make the overlap, albeit we are going to play that one back to Carl Vollen. He is, of course, slightly injured going into this one. Was just thinking before, this was probably the game I should have put a reserve goalkeeper on the bench. Hopefully, I do not regret that lack of a decision. But Lassana Doumbia here with a chance, but puts that one over the bar, and still 0-0 coming up to the half-hour mark. And we go all the way forward to the 34-minute mark for our next highlight. It's a dangerous area for a free kick, and Filippo Donelli rises like a salmon and bangs that one inside that top left corner, albeit we are waiting for a VAR check, but it doesn't take long. The goal is awarded, and that just sneaks inside that top left corner, gets past Van der Voort in goal for Inter Milan. And we finally here in this one with about 10 minutes left in the first half, grab a 1-0 lead. And entering the last 5 minutes of this first half, yet again we are in possession, albeit we play that one back to Carl Vollen, but Filippo Donelli will try and get us on the front foot here, and we eventually make our way into the opposition half. Nice ball there for Lassana Doumbia. Will look to hold things up, tries to put one there into the mixer, and somehow that ball does find the back of the net, even though I can't actually tell where the ball is with the snow here in Husavik, but this time it is Lapase through a header, and that will give us a 2-0 lead here right before half-time. Doumbia puts the ball into the mixer. It does take a big deflection there off of the Inter defender, and that ball, I think, comes off the underside of the crossbar. Very hard to pick it up, though. Yellow ball on the white snow, and that does mean that we are yet again taking a 2-0 lead into half-time. 2 late goals there in that first half, and that gives us a good buffer and will hopefully mean that we are in a strong position at the very least to get a draw out of this game and lock up top spot in the group. But at the moment, pretty happy with how this is going, even though we haven't had that many shots in this game, and we'll keep things as they are as we get the second half underway with a 2-0 lead. And very early here in the second half, we have a corner, which of course we have been quite dangerous from over the past few episodes. Basaro Gay just puts that one over the bar, still 2-0 early in the second half. And not too long off the back of that first chance here in this half, we are about to have a free kick, and this looks like dangerous territory for one of Yves Lapase. We'll try and put that top right corner. It comes off the top right corner of the bar though, so we go close yet again. 2-0, 10 minutes into the second half. And we go forward now to the 65-minute mark, a highlight here which did start with a goal kick or a clearance anyway from the Inter Milan goalkeeper, but we win the ball back off the back of that. Good chance here, though, for Agatire. Will put that one away in the bottom right corner. I think he was onside, but yet again, we are waiting for a VAR check. So far, our wingers in this game are really pulling the strings, and that goal indeed is going to stand, and that does mean that we grab a 3-0 lead with just over 20 minutes left in this one. Nice ball from Lapase, and Agatire with a very well-timed run. Didn't really look like he was close to being offside at all, and we now have a 3-goal buffer and are on the verge of locking up top spot in this group. And going forward now to the 69-minute mark, I think it's a nice time for us here to make a triple substitution. It will be Bruno Costa coming on for Lassana Doumbia, also Marcelo Jr. for Benvenu Bale, with both of those players being down 2 red hearts. Also, Radenko Kroll, of course, is playing for an injection, so I think we'll also take him off, and Jonathan Berger can get some game time coming on for him with these last 20 minutes as we hold a 3-0 lead. And we've just entered the last 10 minutes of this one as Inter Milan try and get an attack going here for really the first time in this game, and Iliev makes his way into the box. Santos, nice ball there, far post, and somehow Carl Vollen comes up with 2 really good saves there, albeit both shots didn't have a lot of power on them, but still good effort there from the goalkeeper, who is playing through some bruised ribs, and that does keep it at 3-0 here as we enter the last 5 minutes of this game. We haven't had that high of an XG in both of the games in today's episode, but we have still been quite good in front of goal, so a bit of an improvement there from those opening couple of games of the group stage. And we might have a chance here as Adam Saki jogs his way through the Inter defence. A nice shot there from just outside the box, kisses the top of the crossbar, but unfortunately that does go out for a goal kick, and I think that is going to do it. Yet another good performance, and we pick up a comfortable 3-0 win, and that does mean that with 1 game to spare, which we do have to travel to Ajax and play those guys in tomorrow's episode, there is nothing riding on that one for us because we have already locked up top spot in the group. We are going to be 9 points clear of Inter Milan and maybe one of Lille and Ajax as well. So tomorrow, we're kind of playing the role of spoiler, depending on what does happen in that game between us and Ajax, if they can actually jump above someone, depending on what has happened in the other game in our group on this match day. But that is good from us, and what did look like a potentially tricky group, we have locked up top spot with a game to spare, and in quite comprehensive fashion as well. As you can see there, Lille did defeat Ajax 3-1 at home, so that means that Lille and Inter in a big matchup on that final match day to confirm who is going to be finishing second in that group. And if Ajax can beat us somehow, they could potentially jump above one of those teams depending on their head-to-head record against which team does end up on the same points as them. If they can upset us, albeit based on how we've been doing this group stage with that 17 goal differential, that does seem a little bit unlikely, but a really good performance from us there yet again, and we lock up top spot in the group off the back of a 3-0 win against Inter Milan. And going forward a few days off the back of us confirming top spot in that Champions League group, and a quick update on what happened on that 5th match day for the other Icelandic teams. Unfortunately, HK can no longer make the knockouts of the Europa League. They suffer a 3-0 defeat there as they take on RB Leipzig at home, in Granada picked up a 2-0 win against Malmo, so that does mean Granada are now clear and they are joining RB Leipzig in the knockouts of the Europa League. Tomorrow, Malmo take on HK in Sweden. HK there just needing a draw to make sure they are going to be in the knockouts of the Conference League, so still plenty to play for there for HK in that final game of the group stage. And Keflavik, unfortunately, now they are officially cooked there in Group H. They suffer a very heavy defeat there to Sudtirol, despite the fact that one of their players did get sent off with around about a half hour left. They suffer a 5-0 defeat, so it doesn't matter what they do tomorrow at home against Panathinaikos. They are only going to finish bottom of that group, so we'll probably just leave Keflavik alone now that they are officially going to finish last in Group H in the Europa League. Can't make the knockouts of the Conference League. And down to the Conference League with Phil Kerr. Some good news down here with Phil Kerr picking up a 2-0 win against Atletico, who did pick up a first half red card. Also, Bayer Leverkusen defeated Askar, locked up second spot in that group, so they are going to be in the knockouts of the Conference League, albeit are going to have to play one of those teams dropping down after finishing third in the Europa League. So at the very least, we're going to have one fellow Icelandic team alongside us in the knockouts of European football. Hopefully tomorrow, HK can also make sure they are going to be in the knockouts of the Conference League as well. But that will do it for today's episode. 2 pretty comprehensive wins there, as has been the case throughout this group stage, and that means we have already locked up top spot in our group with one game to spare tomorrow. We'll come back, do the end of season review, as I mentioned earlier, that actually happened before that Inter Milan game. Off the back of that, we will take on Ajax, do a recap of the last match day in the Europa League and the Conference League, keeping a big eye out on what happens with HK in Group A of the Europa League, if they can make the knockouts of the Conference League. And we'll also have the draw for those first knockout rounds, with a focus on the Champions League to see who we are going to play in the first knockout round come the start of next week. But if you did enjoy today's episode, that double header, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. And until tomorrow, where we wrap up the group stage for the Champions League in 2038/39 and find out who we're playing in that first knockout round. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.